Ice Nine Kills was formed in the year 2000 by 15-year-old Spencer Charnas and Jeremy Schwartz, who went to high school together in Marblehead, Massachusetts. Charnas became interested in macabre ideas in his art as early as 6 or 7 years old, as he explains in an interview with Alternative Press. When I was very young, maybe 7 or 8 years old, I was vacationing with my family in Tucson, Arizona, and we were on our way to see a movie at night. And we passed this car and it looked very suspicious to us. A guy was putting a body or something in his trunk, like a duffel bag. For whatever reason, it really perturbed us. So the guy got in front of us and started driving away, and we actually called the police because we were actually really concerned that this guy had killed someone. He noticed that we were following him, so he sped up, turned off his lights, and took a right really quickly. Although nothing came of it, this always led Spencer to wonder if he had crossed paths with a killer. Naturally, he became very interested in science fiction and horror. The name of the band was originally Ice Nine, named after a substance from Kurt Vonnegut's science fiction novel, Cat's Cradle. They started off as a cover band, but one day, after attending a Goldfinger concert, they were inspired to start writing their own stuff. That's right, Ice Nine Kills started off as a ska-punk band.
Let's go!
To learn how Ice Nine became the horror metal powerhouse they are today, stick around to the end of this video. Welcome to Band History. Ice Nine Kills is a band that I discovered in high school when my friend sent me a YouTube link to In the Throes of a Moral Quandary, which apparently I liked because I ended up seeking out more of their stuff. Right now I couldn't care less if this shit fucking kills me! Good stuff. To this day, I don't really think they have a bad album. Obviously, it's been cool seeing them delve into horror with their late 10s and early 20s work. If you guys know who I am, you know that I also have a horror channel called CZ's World, so what Ink started doing in 2015 felt like it was made for me. It was awesome. But to fully understand Ice Nine Kills, we've got to take it back to Ice Nine and the lead up to the release of their first album. During their early years, Ice Nine would use DIY techniques to promote themselves as they came out with a series of demos that would be released from 2000 to 2002. At the time, the demos were distributed on mp3.com in pure volume. They would eventually be compiled into a limited release simply titled the Pop-Punk Ska Years, but that didn't happen until 2009. The Pop-Punk Ska Years release consists of 9 tracks. There may have been others from that era, but this is before the modern internet, so there's not really any information available. From these tracks, it's easy to see how they were inspired by other artists at the time. There's the aforementioned Goldfinger, and Less Than Jake was featured in Scream 2 a few years beforehand, so you know that Spencer saw that. The first song, Sign Here, is about becoming a punk star.
As I don't need anything except my guitar and a pen to sign the autographs when I become that star.
Kind of ironic considering they would become stars with metal, not punk. BFG is about sleeping with your best friend's girlfriend. We Ate Gilbert's Grapes has a random recorder note in the middle of the song, and is maybe the first example of them making a movie reference in a song, referencing the 1993 film What's Eating Gilbert Grape. The other tracks cover standard fare for the genre: girls, teenage delinquency, self-destructive behavior, and it ends with a breakup song. In 2001, they played their song Saturday for a classmate's high school variety show in Swampscott, Massachusetts. This is the earliest known video recording of the band. We can see a Green Day poster, a brand new shirt, and a NoFX sticker on a guitar. I imagine that these bands influenced their next record. Although their ska stuff wasn't bad, they never took off and changed up their sound a little bit after this. In 2002, they gained a bassist, Andrew Justin Smith, who would be replaced in 2004 by Hobie Bachenstein. In 2003, they brought on drummer Grant Newstead. Ink is one of those bands that's always getting lineup changes, so I'm not going to talk about all of them. Basically, all you need to know is that there were 3 major iterations, and this was the main lineup for iteration 1.0. At this point, Spencer would have been 18, so I'm guessing this is when they started writing their debut album, because we know it was written in high school. It looks like they played a show at a charter school that year. In 2005, they played some local shows in the New England area. On January 20th, 2005, a song called Tossing Kelleher was released on MySpace, though it would appear that this is now lost media. On February 8th, 2005, the demo Heaven or Hell was renamed to Build a Bridge and Jump Off It, and featured on the Drive-Thru Records and Pure Volume compilation CD, Bands You Love, Have Heard of, and Should Know. This would get them some much-needed exposure, being featured alongside Fall Out Boy, The Academy Is, and Hello Goodbye. That would be the last release before they changed their name to Ice Nine Kills and started preparing that debut album. It looks like it was maybe initially planned to be an EP, but they eventually decided to make it a full length. The original track list for the EP was Last Words That Filled the Page, which I'm guessing was shortened to Last Words, Build a Bridge and Jump Off It, Family on Ties, Finding Emo, The TV Life, Tossing Kelleher, We Ate Gilbert's Grapes, Shotgun, and Better Luck Next Time. Unless more song titles were changed, the only songs that made the actual album would have been Last Words, Build a Bridge, and Family on Ties. On December 24th, 2005, they dropped the name of the now full-length album, Last Chance to Make Amends. Released April 20th, 2006, the band takes more of an alternative rock, heavy third wave emo kind of sound. Last Chance to Make Amends plays like a concept album with an opening scene and chapters and transitions, but to be honest, it's not really clear to me if it's supposed to be one continuous story or just a series of vignettes. The song Murders and Acquisitions is a reference to American Psycho.
I'm into murders and executions mostly.
Do you like it?
Well, it depends. Why?
Well, most guys I know who work in mergers and acquisitions really don't like it.
This was a telltale sign of things to come for the band, who would eventually do a full-scale homage to American Psycho in 2022. If we explore the story, we can see how there may have been Patrick Bateman influences, so I'm going to attempt to break it down. The album starts with Our Story Begins, a series of news broadcasts about how police potentially brutalized a 49-year-old suspect who had gone berserk. Last Words tells the story of a kid who hung himself due to pressures placed on him by his father. Chapter 2 seems to be about a new character, a 19-year-old regretting the songs he wrote for someone who poured his life down the drain. In Build a Bridge and Jump Off It, he fantasizes about what she would do if he jumped off a bridge and drowned. I Do and I Don't is about a guy giving his best shot to save his relationship when his girlfriend has doubts about if they'll last. The song title is also a reference to a line from the movie Best in Show.
Christy Comics, but you probably know that.
Well, I do and I don't.
Then, Murders and Acquisitions is about revenge. He plans to kill her in her sleep after she leaves him for someone else. What I really learned in study hall is the first of the study hall trilogy of songs, which would be continued in later albums. It tells about how he's reading letters she wrote to him during their relationship and breakup, sending him into a spiral and making him feel that she's dead to him. It's not clear if she's literally dead now or just figuratively. Cinder blocks and thank you nots, wallows in misery, and more thoughts of jumping off bridges and rotting together. Finally, in Family on Ties, Finding Emo, our character can't move on from the fact that this girl destroyed what they had, and places the blame on her. At the end, it's not clear if any of the violent fantasies described in the album were actually enacted, or if they were just fantasies, which is exactly how the audience is meant to feel when reading or watching American Psycho. It's also very possible that this is just a group of emo songs that aren't related to one another. Either way, these tracks hit you right in the feels. If you're a fan of pop punk, do yourself the favor of checking this one out. Last Chance to Make Amends is near the top of their catalog for me. On August 2nd, the band played one date on Warped Tour in their home state of Massachusetts. Ice Nine Kills' connection to the movies extended past just referencing them. Later that year, they would find themselves featured on the big screen. Although We Ate Gilbert's Grapes did not appear on the final album, it was featured in the skateboarding movie Dish Dogs, which came out October 17th, 2006. Haley Duff and Luke Perry were in it, to give you an idea of how 2000s it is. In 2007, Red Blue Records released an unauthorized second press of the album, where the cover is messed up and it just says Last Chance to Make. For all we know, it could have been Last Chance to Make Pasta. The reissue has two hidden tracks at the end, a synth version of Family on Ties and a strange phone call of someone doing a not very convincing Asian accent trying to get a hold of a girl named Terry. After that, there's another synth track. This additional content can also be found in the Japanese version of the album. In reality, Last Chance to Make Amends would not be their last chance to make anything, because in 2007, they came out with an EP known as The Burn-In. I guess it's good that they called it that, because this album is fire. Released November 9th, 2007, the Burning EP takes the previous record's pop-punk sensibilities, but takes a huge step towards metalcore. We're talking heavier vocals, breakdowns, and solos. It's safe to say that with this EP, Ice Nine Kills had found their sound, and it would continue to move more towards metal from this point. The songs tackle themes of murder, revenge, addiction, and betrayal. The Greatest Story Ever Told is an epic thesis statement that tells us what we're in for the next 27 minutes. Build Your Own Disaster harkens back to the more emo sound of Last Chance to Make Amends, then What I Should Have Learned in Study Hall, an acoustic break from the action, represents represents the second entry in the Study Hall trilogy. Then the final track is Last Words from the previous album. Ice Nine Kills really likes to reuse songs that they've already released. The album cover was inspired by the movie poster for Cabin Fever, and Spencer's love for Cabin Fever would be evident again much later in his career. In 2008 and 2009, they toured the United States, hitting festivals along the way. On January 13th, 2009, they released the 2-song acoustic EP, a digital-only release. These songs were thematically very similar to the stuff that we've seen Spencer write before, relationship issues and drinking problems, all put in a softer acoustic package, easily their most forgettable release. They also had a couple songs from The Burning appear on the Red Blue Records compilation CD, The Venetia Fair Presents Gullinkambi's EP. The Venetia Fair happens to be one of my favorite bands of all time, and one of their members would cross paths with Ink again in the future. But that year, high school co-founder Jeremy Schwartz left the band, which Spencer described as a crushing moment when he found out. Jeremy didn't want to do it anymore. We don't know why he left, but I'm guessing they're still on good terms because he would come back later for a guest appearance on a song in 2018. Also, everyone else left around this time, leaving Spencer the only member. To fill the void, he basically stole all the members from a band called Remember Tomorrow who had just broken up. So Justin DeBlick, also known as JD, took over on lead guitar and split lead vocal duties with Spencer. Justin Morrow took up rhythm guitar, Shane Bishnett on bass, and Connor Sullivan on drums. There would be minor changes, but this was basically Ice Nine Kills 2.0, the Remember Tomorrow era. And together, they got to work on a new, full-length album. Safe is Just a Shadow was released on July 12th, 2010. A lot of times when you have a band with one main guy who's getting new members all the time, that original member becomes the driving creative force behind the music. By the sound of things, that's not what happened when the Remember Tomorrow guys joined Spencer and went to work on Safe is Just a Shadow.
It's a lot of things that we all bring to the table, and it filters through 5 guys, you know? I mean, some bands one guy writes all the stuff and one guy records it all. I mean, we kind of filter through a lot. It's a long process and it's tough, but
yeah, we have to keep each other in check constantly.
They even adapted one of Remember Tomorrow's songs for the album, Newton's Third Law of Knives to the Back. This record falls more cleanly under the melodic metalcore umbrella, with the pop-punk influences of the past pretty much faded away. Much of the album alternates between heavy and clean vocals, and the lyrics once again describe intense imagery, like being stabbed in the throat or cutting off fingers with razor blades. Chris Brown's latest hits takes a shot at R&B artist, if you want to call him that, Chris Brown, and his absolutely insane timeline of domestic abuse against women. Literally, as I'm writing this, the guy has a new investigation about him, from 6 hours ago.
You seriously don't remember beating up Rihanna?
Who's Rihanna?
It's kind of ballsy for the then small Ice Nine Kills, who are spending their time walking around Warped Tour trying to get people to listen to their CD, to take on someone so powerful that he is apparently above the law entirely. I think this is the first example of what would become a trend for them, targeting celebrities. Honestly, the song titles on this album are awesome. Newton's Third Law of Knives to the Back is a 10 out of 10 title and a great song. Personal favorite from this record is Red Sky Warning, which opens up with an epic lead-in from the previous track and features a great blend of simultaneous vocals from Charnas and JD. The following track, The People Under the Stairs, references the 1991 Wes Craven horror film of the same name, but the music video, which as far as I know is their first official music video, is themed to a different movie, Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds. The vid was released in 2011 and features scenes of the band playing in a remote house where a girl hides from secret police in World War II. The movie-themed music video is also something that would eventually become synonymous with the band. Remember how I said they like to reuse songs that they've released? Well, here's another example. They included The Greatest Story Ever Told from The Burning. This time, we got an explanation though. We would be touring around the country and we would always be hustling CDs. No matter if we were at a show or if we had a day off at a mall. We would find people in rural Texas at some mall and go up to them and say, "We're Ice Nine Kills and we have this album." And they'd say, "Yeah, I have The Greatest Story Ever Told on my iPod." For whatever reason, that song just stuck a chord with people at the time. Then we got the opportunity to release the album Safe is Just a Shadow a couple years later, and we thought a lot of people loved it the first time, and we just thought it couldn't hurt to release it the second time. As I mentioned, the band did a 2-week stint on Warped Tour in 2010 to promote the album. Then, in 2011, they headlined the launch tour, and did some of their own touring in the Northeast, as well as a headline tour called the Ignite Tour in Q3. They were pretty much just playing The Burning and Safe is Just a Shadow at this point. But the following year would see the introduction of a new single that would eventually be featured on Ice Nine Kills' magnum opus.
First day recording. The date is January 23rd, 2012. I'm very excited for this record. I know that people who love Safe is Just a Shadow are really gonna like this one. We took all the elements that we loved about that album and tried to take it to the next level, and I think we've accomplished that. For Ink fans out there that swear by the Burning EP, there are definitely a few tracks that are reminiscent of that era Ice Nine Kills. We can't wait to get out there and start playing these new songs.
That is the oldest video available on the Ice Nine Kills YouTube channel. In the summer of 2012, the band opened up for Silence at the All Stars tour, all while continuing to write the next album, which started as full length but eventually settled as an EP. This was recorded entirely at their home in Rochester, New York. On May 21st, 2012, a music video was released for one of these songs, Someone Like You, which is a cover of a song by Adele. I tried listening to the original by Adele once, and it's so boring compared to the Ice Nine Kills. How the f does this have 1.9 bill? The music video for the original is just this chick walking around singing, and they somehow completely lose track of her at one point. Meanwhile, the Ice Nine Kills video is amazing. It's about Spencer's relationship with this freaking adorable Havanese dog named Buddy. Havanese are awesome. Ice Nine Kills puts so much more effort and energy into the song. I love this song and video. With no money or connections, Ink has always gotten creative with guerrilla marketing, and having now grown a fan base, they would lean on the fan base to get the next album over the finish line. On November 22, they launched a Kickstarter campaign seeking $10,000 to get the new album printed and released by the end of the year.
We have gone to great lengths to make sure that anyone who donates at whatever level of donation will receive some really awesome Ice Nine Kills prizes along with it. Everything from getting the album before the general public can, to a custom Ink jean jacket, to the stage backdrops that we've used on Warped Tour, to an official tour pass that will give you free access to any Ice Nine Kills show till the end of time.
Wait, what? That's awesome. Why don't I have that? Oh yeah, I didn't have $600 in college. Apparently nobody did. There are some pretty cool prizes that went unutilized here. For $750, they would record a custom song for you, which you had the option to be in. For $1,000, they would play a show at your house and hang out all night, which somebody did get. I'm very curious who that is. And for $500, you could get a song named after you on the upcoming full length. Somebody did get that, and I think his name is Stephen Long. As a little taste of what was to come, they also debuted their new single, The Coffin Is Moving, from the upcoming EP the same day.
We are the Walking Dead!
The lyrics don't tie directly into the show, The Walking Dead, in the same way that they would eventually write songs about horror IPs on the silver screen, but you can definitely see how this was the next step to them becoming the horror band. And this song is awesome, one of their all-time classics. Anyway, the band raised more than double their Kickstarter goal, so on January 15th, 2013, Ice Nine Kills released the Predator EP. 5 songs, 18 minutes, no filler. After The Coffin Is Moving, Father's Day tells the story of a narrator failed by his father. The final song of the Study Hall trilogy is What I Never Learned in Study Hall, featuring Tyler Carter from Issues. This one sticks to clean vocals and guitars, a nice cleanser before the complete insanity that is A Reptile's Dysfunction. One of my all-time favorites, it goes so hard from start to finish. The EP ends with Someone Like You, something more melodic to close things out. The Predator is a perfect showcase of what the band can do, and for that reason, I am dubbing this as Ice Nine Kills' magnum opus. But this was far from the end of the era of the Predator. As teased in the Kickstarter, there was a full-length album on the way as well. It wouldn't be very long until the Predator becomes the Prey. On April 15th, 2013, 2 terrorists planted bombs near the finish line of the Boston Marathon in Ice Nine Kills' home state of Massachusetts. This was a huge deal at the time. Many sporting events, concerts, and public gatherings were canceled in the aftermath. The band got to work on a fundraiser song, and on April 26, 2013, released The Product of Hate on their website, raising over $1,000 for the victims and their families. Even with the quick turnaround time, fans ended up digging the new song, hoping it would appear on The Predator Becomes the Prey. On July 9th, an official video for The Coffin Is Moving came out, recorded at a live show in Rochester, New York. On November 4th, we would get the lead single, Connect the Cuts, and it was announced that the new album would be coming out in early 2014. This was truly the strangest era for Ice Nine Kills trying to market themselves. The band has done a ton of wild merch designs over the years, one of which was this Reefer Fever one. I remember them selling these shirts at Warped Tour. The story is, at the time, there was this phenomenon called Bieber Fever, where brain-dead teenage girls would idolize this child star named Justin Bieber. One day he got photographed doing something illegal by TMZ, and Ice Nine Kills decided to make fun of him for it by releasing this shirt. And another more mainstream celebrity, Miley Cyrus, ended up wearing that shirt a lot and posting herself in it. As did then internet star Perez Hilton, and it even ended up getting picked up by the news. I don't know how much it actually helped promote them because the Ice Nine Kills logo was on the back, but this is a funny part of their history, as is this. I don't know if anyone remembers the Elf Yourself trend from the 2013 holiday season, but Ink hilariously took part, changing the music to their own song, Connect the Cuts, the first of many edits uploaded to their YouTube channel to promote the upcoming LP. In early January, they came out with another single, The Power in Believe, and on January 21st, the album would be released alongside a promo which was an edit of the iconic scene from one of their favorite movies, American Psycho.
I know you're a 30 Seconds to Mars fan, but do you like Ice Nine Kills?
They're okay.
The early work was a little too new wave for my taste. But when The Burning came out in 07, I think they really came into their own, commercially and artistically. This week, Ink released this, The Predator Becomes the Prey, their most accomplished album. I think the undisputed masterpiece is The Power in Belief, a song so catchy, most people probably don't listen to the lyrics. But they should, because it's not just about the pleasures of conformity and the importance of trends. It's also a personal statement about the band itself. Hey, Paul!
This, of course, would not be the last time they would parody this scene. The next month, they did the same with a scene from the movie Anger Management. The Predator Becomes the Prey picked up right where the Predator EP left off, with catchy melodic metalcore inspired by horror movie caliber ideas. I mean, look at the cover. Spencer cites a lot of the lyrical content as coming from true stories from the lives of him and other members of the band. I'm not sure what the true story looks like when it comes to songs like Let's Bury the Hatchet in Your Head or
The fastest way to a girl's heart is through her rib cage,
which would be the two songs from the album to get proper music videos. Let's Bury the Hatchet features the band performing in front of a big flaming Roman numeral 9, while The Fastest Way to a Girl's Heart is set in a 1959 high school dance as a demonic seductress mauls male victims, resulting in this hilarious reaction of Spencer seeing his friend get destroyed. Like before, they had a couple songs from the Predator EP that deserved more exposure. So The Coffin is Moving and What I Never Learned in Study Hall were repeat inclusions on The Predator Becomes the Prey. They also included the song Jonathan to raise awareness about mitochondrial disease for their friend Jonathan who suffered from it. The lyrics, "As this curse drains the life out of me," are not metaphorical, as it turns out. That's basically what mitochondrial disease does to your cells. Jonathan would also get an acoustic cover to further promote the cause. For the first time, Ink was propelled into the Billboard 200, debuting at number 153 over it all. It earned them a spot at the Monster stage at Warped Tour. I was there and it was awesome. This was another great album, continuing to lean on those horror sensibilities while also demonstrating that Spencer knows how to write a sequel, both of which would come into play later. They wouldn't wait long to begin work on their next album, where they would introduce a new format that changed how people saw the band forever.
Hi, I'm looking for Ice Nine Kills. And a clean pair of shorts.
This edit, using clips from Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, was uploaded to promote the 9 Lives tour that Ice Nine Kills embarked on in April 2015. But before that tour, they would give a taste of their next release in the form of a lyric video for their new single, Me, Myself, and Hyde. Not only is this, if not my favorite Ice Nine Kills song, at least in the top 2, but this is one of the best lyric videos I've ever seen, with the 3D sets and animation. This thing is a work of art. The lyrics loosely tell the story of the 1866 Gothic novella, Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the subject of which is of course a horror icon. Little did we know at the time, but their next record would be a concept album, with each song being themed around a well-known piece of literature. Of course, there would be a focus on horror novels and other disturbing content. But before we get there, let's talk about 2015. The band's record label at the time, Fearless Records, is known for their Punk Goes Blank compilation CDs. Punk Goes Metal, Punk Goes Christmas, Punk Goes Crunk. Yes, they did that. In 2015, they were doing a deluxe edition of Punk Goes Pop Volume 6, which Ice Nine Kills was included on, despite being a lot more metal than punk for about 9 years at this point. You can certainly still hear the punk influences, but most would describe them as a metal band at this time. There's definitely some overlap for these fan bases, see the name of my channel, and Ink wasn't the only metal band featured on the CD. Of the 15 artists on the deluxe edition, I would say like 11 of them are metal. Anyway, Ink's contribution was a cover of Animals by Maroon 5. Like their cover of Someone Like You, it features an awesome little dog, but this time it's about Spencer kidnapping the dog so he can talk to this girl by helping her search for it. This video is completely absurd. It's actually sort of a parody of the original Maroon 5 video about this meat butcher who stalks this girl and seemingly imagines himself getting with her while getting the Carrie White treatment. Honestly surprising that the gory one isn't the Ice Nine Kills video and the silly one isn't Maroon 5, but their next video would be more true to the bloodbath that you would expect from them. Literally.
You can tell I'm the best for the blood on your dress. Nobody as good as mine.
On September 24th, 2015, the band announced the name of their next full-length album, Every Trick in the Book, along with a new single, Bloodbath and Beyond. The next day, the lyric video for Bloodbath and Beyond would be released. This one was centered around Dracula and uses a similar style as the Me, Myself, and Hyde video. And this is when I started to realize that my wildest dreams of Ice Nine Kills going full horror movie might be coming true. Despite the title, there was no connection to the horror movie review channel Bloodbath and Beyond, something that would be the subject of a lot of confusion and controversy. To add to the confusion, this was also a joke from The Simpsons. Shortly before Halloween the next month, they released a proper music video, as opposed to another lyric video, for the song Communion of the Cursed. The song and video are themed around William Friedkin's novel The Exorcist, featuring many iconic scenes from the movie integrated with the lyrics of the song and intercut with the band performing in a creepy church. It's their most cinematic music video to date, and it would be the blueprint for all of their videos going forward. It raised hype for the album, which came out December 4th, 2015. Every Trick in the Book takes their established metalcore sound and adds a symphonic element, making the entire thing feel a little bit more cinematic and epic. This is a result of Spencer wanting to step up the production and drawing influence from outside the rock genre, with musicals like Les Miserables and Phantom of the Opera. Right from the beginning of the first track, you can hear the strings and added percussion crescendo for 50 seconds, leading into the outburst of electric guitars and screaming. They also incorporate sound bites or ambient sound effects into some of the songs to further immerse the listener in the world of each of these stories.
Good morning, sir. I am Officer Silberbauer of the SS. You are harboring enemies of the state, are you not? Yes. Take me to some.
Because, as I mentioned, each track was themed to a different book. This idea actually came from the warm reception to Me, Myself, and Hyde, inspiring Spencer to do an entire album with this concept.
Well, basically, when we had the idea to do the album about books, we made an entire list of every book that any of us have liked over the course of our lives.
So 10 of these books made the cut. The Nature of the Beast was Animal Farm by George Orwell. The Plot Thickens was Alive by Spanish author Piers Paul Reed. Star-Crossed Enemies was Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. Alice was Go Ask Alice by Beatrice Sparks. Even The Diary of Anne Frank was represented with the song The People in the Attic, which interestingly shares a very similar song title with their old song The People Under the Stairs, which had the Inglourious Basterds music video, meaning that both songs are set during the Holocaust. Another example of what could be considered an Ice Nine Kills sequel, Testimony, is based off of Tess of the D'Urbervilles, an old classic novel by Thomas Hardy, and finally Hell in the Hallways is the closer, based off of Carrie from our main man, Stephen King. And that would be the next song to receive a music video, but it wouldn't come until May 2016. It features a grown-up version of Kevin, the cursed kid from Communion of the Curse, now in high school, studying all of the books that I just listed. This is where they start going crazy with the Easter eggs, which may have to be the subject of another video at some point. A bully character is forced to read the in-universe equivalent of Carrie, and Ice Nine Kills performs at the prom. It's a great song, but being the creator of a horror channel, I have one accuracy issue to point out. Every Trick in the Book is based on books. The Silver Scream is based on movies. Carrie has a book and several movies, but the song is on Every Trick in the Book. So the song should be about the book, right?
Your Bates High prom queen for 1976 is Carrie White.
Except Bates High is only in the movie. In the book, it's called Ew in High School. I can't believe Spencer would screw this up.
You want to do it justice and you don't want to mess things up, so to speak. So we paid a lot of attention to detail, and I think we did a good job.
But the breakdown that follows is pretty brutal, so I forgive him. The third and final music video for Every Trick in the Book wouldn't come for almost a year. I'm actually going out of order here a little bit because this video took so long to come out. The Nature of the Beast video features Kevin, now in history class, studying the in-universe version of Animal Farm, which leads into a video with people in creepy animal masks as the animal characters from the novel. They proceed to rock out to Ice Nine Kills. In September 2016, their old track, The Coffin is Moving, from the Predator EP was featured as the theme song of The Walking Dead, the criminally underrated CZ's World narrative horror / cooking / comedy series.
We are the Walking Dead! We are the Walking Dead!
that takes me back. Anyway, they would take their new album on the road in the Fresh Faces tour in fall 2016. I was preoccupied at the time and paid no attention to this tour. Every Trick in the Book was their most popular album yet, reaching number 122 on the Billboard 200. With the influx of new fans, it seemed like a good idea to expose them to their existing catalog, and the band had learned a lot about the technical side of producing music. They decided to re-record and re-release their first album together during the Remember Tomorrow era of Ice Nine Kills. So, on January 6, 2017, they put out Safe as Just a Shadow, reshadowed and re-recorded, meaning that the greatest story ever told had now been featured on 3 of their releases. The new artwork incorporated their current band logo, and in my opinion is a big improvement. After finally completing the trilogy of Every Trick in the Book music videos with Nature of the Beast, they would also complete the trilogy of pop song covers with a personified dog in the music video by releasing I Don't Want to Live Forever, a cover of Zayn/Taylor Swift. I can't believe those names just came out of my mouth. This was for Punk Goes Pop Volume 7. Ironically, Ice Nine Kills' next release would make them more popular than ever before. The first track we heard from it was Enjoy Your Sleigh, which is all about The Shining. At the time, it wasn't clear if this was an extra bonus from the Every Trick in the Book era or part of an upcoming project, because The Shining is both a book and movie. The movie was directed by Stanley Kubrick. His grandson, Sam Kubrick, is in a metal band called Shield, so Sam was featured on the song. Guest features would also be a big part of the next album. Before long, it would become clear that Enjoy Your Sleigh was actually the beginning of a new album cycle for Ice Nine Kills. In early 2018, Ink opened up on the Graveyard Shift tour in support of Motionless in White, during which they continued work on their next album, another concept album, but this time, instead of classic literature, the songs would be themed around iconic horror movies. In June, they would debut the next taste of this new endeavor by revisiting the work of an old friend, Wes Craven.
Getting ready for bed at a regular time is one of the most important habits you can learn. David has probably never stopped to think what a wonderful thing sleep is.
The song was called The American Nightmare, and it paid homage to A Nightmare on Elm Street. The music video would feature a much more involved story than ever before. The 12-minute extended cut tells the story of Spencer Charnas' psychiatrist, Dr. Ian Black, who is played by the same actor as the teacher from the Nature of the Beast video. Spencer is haunted by disturbing dreams, one of which is about a girl who's basically Nancy Thompson from A Nightmare on Elm Street. As he starts to explain the dream, the song begins and we see the story unfold, with Spencer playing the part of Freddy Krueger. Afterwards, we see him steal a bunch of blank prescription orders from one of the other doctors, and it's implied that Dr. Black suspects him of being an active serial killer. The end of the video teases the next chapter, which would release on Friday, July 13th, 2018, leaving fans to speculate that the next video would pay homage to the Friday the 13th franchise. The Silver Scream era had begun, and as fans expected, the next chapter would unfold with Jason Voorhees at the forefront. The video, for Thank God It's Friday, begins with news of 7 murders in San Antonio, Texas, followed by Spencer telling Dr. Black that one of the highlights of the band's tour was San Antonio. He explains his latest dream, where each of the characters are camp counselors who are picked off one by one at Camp Crystal Lake. The song actually follows the same structure as the movie, with a calm section at the end to set the listener at ease before the explosive ending.
Well, that's real improvement, isn't it? I mean, all of the protagonists survive this time.
Well, I didn't finish the story yet.
Go on.
Spencer explains that the dream started during his childhood. When time expires on their session, they plan to meet again in 2 weeks. Dr. Black contemplates going to law enforcement, and we learn Spencer is spying on him from afar. As Dr. Black reviews his session recordings in Part 3, A Grave Mistake, we find out that he is also spying on Spencer, but he's discovered when Spencer goes out late one night and plays it off as a coincidence. Another night, Spencer can be seen dealing the blank prescription orders to someone in the back of a dive bar, and if you pay close attention, you can hear the song She's the Same from the Pop-Punk Ska Years playing in the background. He calls Dr. Black, who's spying on him from across the bar. Spencer pretends to be another doctor, and when Dr. Black steps out to be able to better hear, he slips something in his drink, causing him to hallucinate a sequence where Spencer and his fiancée rise from the dead to take revenge on their murderers. This one is based on The Crow. He wakes up in an alley and is told that it was all a dream, until he sees a news report about 2 victims left hanging from streetlights. As usual, the end of the video teased the next part, but before that would happen, the album, The Silver Scream, would be released on October 5th, 2018. This would be their their 5th studio album and easily their most ambitious. Not content with simply applying the concept of their last album to movies instead of books, this release has 2 new areas of focus: theatricality and guest features. Given the movie theme to the album, I'm sure Spencer sees the guest features as cameos in his movie. These are not just random collabs, each of them has some significance. The song Rocking the Boat brings back Jeremy Schwartz, Spencer's high school buddy and former guitarist, who started the band with him for the first 9 years. The song is themed around a Jaws, but in addition to that, serves as a tribute to the band's past, with lyrics making direct reference to each of their previous LPs, like The Predator Becomes the Prey, Safe is Just a Shadow,
and safe is just a shadow, so we swim towards the light.
Every Trick in the Book, and Last Chance to Make Amends.
Last chance to make amends. We'll try to stay afloat.
Love Bites is a track about the 80s flick An American Werewolf in London and features actress Chelsea Talmadge. Charnas explained this one in an interview with Cryptic Rock. She was hanging out with me in LA and we happened to be in this karaoke bar on the Strip, and she sang a song. I think it was an Alanis Morissette song, and she just blew me away. She was just amazing. I thought, what a cool thing. Not only does she have a great voice and it would be a cool collaboration, but she also has that sort of horror tie-in, being associated with Stranger Things. If you don't remember her, she plays Carol Perkins.
Tommy and Carol have been having sex since like 7th grade.
The other features on the album were Spencer's childhood heroes who got him into music. Will Salazar from the pop-punk band Phoenix, Texas, Tony Lovato from the ska-punk band Mest, and Randy Strohmeyer from the alt-rock band Finch. The biggest features were probably Peter and Buddy, the 90s ska-punk legends from the band Less Than Jake. They came in and played horns for the circus music on the closing track, It Is the End. Certainly a creative way to use them. After the release of the album, they soon continued the Silver Scream story with more music videos. But not every single song had a music video. The Jig Is Up is about Saw and incorporates elements of Hello Zepp, the score that always plays near the end of every Saw movie. Freak Flag is about the Devil's Rejects, and The World in My Hands is about Edward Scissorhands. While all of this was happening in October 2018, a major horror franchise was about to be revived. 6 days before the release of Halloween 2018, Ice Nine Kills debuted Part 4 of the Silver Scream, Stabbing in the Dark. We rejoin Dr. Black as he's researching Spencer's past online and connects a series of unsolved deaths to various Ice Nine Kills tour dates. In the next session, Spencer explains that his most recent nightmares have been about his childhood, but as a third-party spectator. In the dreams, his babysitter invites her friends over to party, but of course, all of the characters just look like Ice Nine Kills bandmates and Dr. Black's colleagues as usual. They soon find themselves stalked by a figure that Spencer calls the Shadow Man, which in Halloween we know as the Boogeyman or Michael Myers. Like many of the other tracks on the Silver Scream, Stabbing in the Dark incorporates a melody from the movie. In this case, it borrows a measure from Mr. Sandman by the Chordettes, which was first featured in Halloween 2. It ends with young Spencer seemingly going crazy and stabbing his babysitter, leaving him as the only survivor. The last shot of the video initially claims that this is the end, but then adds a question mark. The Silver Scream was not over yet, but it would come back in a new format just in time for Christmas. The next music video in the Silver Scream saga took a different approach. Dr. Black and his colleagues would not be a part of this one. Instead, it would take place entirely in a flashback to when Spencer was 5 years old on Christmas, and the video would be a music video for Merry Xmas, based on the movie Silent Night, Deadly Nights, and its infamous sequel.
Garbage Day! Huh? No!
Spencer gets a Sega Genesis game called Merry Xmas, which ends up being way too violent for his young mind, causing him to daydream about Santa Claus coming down the chimney and chopping up his mom and dad. The Silver Scream was the band's biggest success yet, taking them all the way to number 29 on the Billboard 200, which may not even accurately represent how popular it was because of how gradually metal fans took notice of it. Sadly, the album ended up being more of a final hurrah for this iteration of the band. Drummer Connor Sullivan actually left before the Silver Scream in June 2018, possibly just worn out from touring all the time. On January 1st, 2019, Shane Bishnett, who played bass and contributed vocals from 2009 to 2011, passed away of an overdose. He wasn't in the band when he died, but after this, many of the other pieces started to fall. Rhythm guitarist Justin Morrow had been filling in for Motionless in White and permanently moved over to that band in March on good terms. There was a silver lining to this move because his replacement was Joe Acciuti from the fellow Boston-based band The Venetia Fair. Lead guitarist Justin DeBlick also disappeared around this time and would later announce his departure from the band in order to become a music producer, most notably working with Motionless in White. We can only speculate, but maybe these guys just needed a change of scenery after the death of their friend. So just like that, the Remember Tomorrow era of Ice Nine Kills was over, and Spencer found himself in a position where he needed to rebuild. He recruited Dan Sugarman and Ricky Armolino to fill the open guitar spots and contribute backing vocals, and Patrick Galante took over on drums. The new lineup was supposed to play a show on April 26th at the House of Blues at Disney Springs in Orlando, but just a few weeks prior, Disney pulled the plug, citing the band's evil and disturbing imagery, as if they didn't make Fantasia, Dumbo, Hunchback of Notre Dame, or Toy Story 3. So, on July 25th, they came back to Orlando at the Soundbar for an event that they dubbed as the Disney Revenge Show. There was special merch associated with it, and they even had the Rodent make an appearance to banter with the fans. The band was just rolling with the punches at this point, taking all the negatives and turning them into positives. It took some time, but with Ice Nine Kills 3.0 a go, Spencer could finally get back to finishing the story of the Silver Scream with his next video. It's kind of funny because JD is still in the video at the beginning where he discovers Spencer's hand is injured as if he'd been in a fight and questions him about sneaking around as of late. They lean into the lineup changes and incorporate them into their story, with DeBlick and Morrow going missing and Dr. Black assuming that Spencer is responsible. He receives video files from Spencer's old psychiatrist who seem to have similar ideas, but before he can react, he's kidnapped and awakens in an abandoned carnival ride in chains, with Spencer and Dr. Stonebridge also finding themselves restrained. Dr. Black reveals his theory that Spencer was responsible for the murders, but given that he also seems to be a victim, Mr. Charnas assumes that it was actually a crazed fan. The carnival ride begins, and Dr. Black is taken through catacombs full of victims as a Pennywise-adjacent dancing clown and his band perform one final nightmarish tune. Just like the Stabbing in the Dark video lined up with the release of Halloween 2018, It Is the End would come out a few weeks after It Chapter 2 in September 2019. It's also filled with Stephen King references. At the end, Spencer is revealed as the clown, out for revenge because 20 years ago, Dr. Black declared a patient named Floyd Schechter to be completely sane, and that patient went on to be the Shadow Man who killed Spencer's sister and later his parents. Spencer gets revenge on Black and his colleagues, framing it to look like he was the killer all along.
Floyd Schechter. He was my first. But you won't be my last.
And this line rang true, because even with the narrative coming to a close, there were much bigger plans in the works. A deluxe edition had been announced to celebrate Halloween just over a year after the original release of the album. In true movie fashion, it was titled The Silver Scream: The Final Cut, and it would include a new song, Your Number's Up, based off of Scream, a cover of Michael Jackson's Thriller, and some live and acoustic stuff, featuring Trivium's Matt Heafy and Jason Voorhees actor Ari Lehman. To promote the new release, Ink hosted their own haunted house experience in New Hampshire. Between this and the cinematic video series, it was clear that Spencer wanted Ice Nine Kills to be a brand outside the band. He was actually in the maze as a scare actor and also did meet and greet stuff.
I'm Spencer from Ice Nine Kills, and I'm about to scare the shit out of you at Fright Kingdom in Nashua, New Hampshire.
They closed out the year that holiday season by celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the Merry Xmas video with a playable version of the video game from the MV. You can still play it on the band's website. It's not very good. It's basically the Chrome Dinosaur game, but with Santa Claus and also worse. And this was the last thing before COVID happened. It was clear that there would be no in-person interaction for a while, but the band still found a way to collaborate from their homes. In April, Fountains of Wayne's Adam Schlesinger was killed by the virus, and as a tribute, Ink recorded a parody of his song, Stacy's Mom, with their own horror movie twist, calling it Jason's Mom. A few days later, Spencer made the obligatory hand-washing tutorial. This was in the part of the pandemic where we suspected that COVID was being spread through surfaces. It's now clear that it's a respiratory disease, but luckily the tutorial still works for other situations.
You're down at the police station and the arresting officer has confused a spilled bottle of Merlot wine for blood. What is he thinking?
They also kept their catalog fresh by releasing some previously recorded live footage. On June 26, 2020, they put out Undead and Unplugged live from the Overlook Hotel, which they had previously filmed at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, the location that inspired Stephen King to write The Shining. Continuing with the theme of wanting to be more than just a band, they released their own mobile app called Psycho's Only Club in September, allowing you to earn points for rewards or something. COVID vaccines were still not widely available by Halloween, so the band tried to soften the letdown with 2 events. First was the Silver Stream stream on October 29th. This was an interactive live stream horror experience similar to the movie Host. It featured Bill Moseley from the Devil's Rejects and included a 19-song Ice Nine Kills set. The next day, they released a proper live album called I Heard They Kill Live, which came out exactly 11 months after it had been recorded. The pandemic came at a time when a lot of creators, whether it be YouTubers, bands, or other figures, were leveling up their merch offerings. They were ditching the cheap screen-printed logo shirts in favor of custom designer clothing. Spencer Charnas would join the trend by launching Cleaver Clothing, which is described as a horror lifestyle brand with monthly drops. This would continue to run separately from inkmerch.com, which was where you would go if you wanted something with the Ice Nine Kills logo. Basically, there are now a lot of offerings if you want horror-themed clothing. I even have my own shop. Go check it out. Go check it out! There was even a comic book tie-in appropriately titled Inked in Blood. It's described as the story of a bullied teen superfan who's convinced that her favorite frontman could never have committed the grotesque crimes for which he's now standing trial. The comic book tie-in keeps up with the spirit of many big horror franchises like Halloween, Friday the 13th, The Crow, and many others. It's really pretty impressive, but also unsurprising what they were able to accomplish during the pandemic when you take touring out of the equation. New music, videos, merch, an app, some live albums, and a comic. Fans did not have to go hungry. In addition to all of that, they still had more time than ever to start writing new material. It's like I said earlier about ink rolling with the punches.
COVID was a very tragic thing, obviously, and nobody wanted COVID, but we try to always find the positive out of any negative situation, and the positive out of that was that we got to really spend a full year working on an album.
And that album would go on to be Spencer's proudest achievement. Like many great horror films, it was only a matter of time until we would get a sequel.
Because let's face it, baby, these days, you gotta have a sequel.
After releasing content for Halloween and Xmas in the past, it was only a matter of time before Valentine's Day got some love. On February 9th, 2021, Spencer did a stream on the Fearless Records YouTube channel with Scout Taylor Compton. She's Laurie Strode in the remake of Halloween, if you aren't aware. Ironically, she also starred in a music video for a different cover of Someone Like You from an artist named Tony Aller. Like the Adele version, it is not as good as the Ice Nine Kills. Anyway, Spencer and Scout had a conversation about the juxtaposition of older music with scary visuals in horror, leading up to the premiere of a new track, the cover of Elvis Presley's Can't Help Falling in Love. It's a different style for the band for sure, but it still fits in with the horror movie theme. Although Spencer apparently knows the song from the movie Honeymoon in Vegas, I personally can't think of that song without thinking of The Conjuring 2. Spencer has always kind of liked that era of rock and roll, judging from the Fastest Way to a Girl's Heart video to the way he usually combs his hair. The video features a mask just sitting on a coffee table, and although we didn't know what it was at the time, it would be a clue about the sequel to The Silver Screen. The new era would begin that summer on July 8th, 2021. The band hosted a music video premiere at Mystic Museum, which is a centerpiece of the horror community here in LA. The video that premiered would be a long time coming. A movie that they have referenced, parodied, and praised over the years would finally get the patented Ice Nine Kills treatment. I am of course referring to American Psycho.
Do you like Ice Nine Kills?
Not really.
Their early work was a little bit too seen for me.
Whoa. You can't be too seen. The video for Hip to Be Scared does an excellent job of capturing the best moments from the movie, without a doubt their best music video so far.
Anyone who's seen the movie knows that one of the most iconic parts is when he slaughters Jared Leto, juxtaposed to a very sort of upbeat poppy song from the 80s by Huey Lewis and the News. Give it up for Huey. Woo! And when we were putting the track together, we thought, how could we not include some Huey Lewis in the News?
The video also features Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach, and whoever left this YouTube comment is a legend. After the premiere, the band posed with fans on a recreated set of Patrick Bateman's apartment, where I finally got to thank him in person for putting me in touch with the record label for The Walking Dead. And we also got one more announcement.
Our new album, The Silver Scream 2, Welcome to Horrorwood, will be released on October 15th, so you guys are the first ones here.
Like the original, this album would feature a series of interconnected music videos that tell a horror story. Hip to Be Scared, which went online the next day, ends with Spencer being taken into custody for the murder of his 28-year-old fiancée. COVID was out of season that summer, allowing for a more consistent video release schedule. On the 9th day of every month leading up to the album, a new chapter would drop. Because, you know, Ice 9 kills, News Channel 9. The August video, Assault and Batteries, proved that evil comes in every size by doing a takeoff of Child's Play, with the band members dressed up as dolls similar to Chucky and sacrificing Andy's mom, who is played by Nadia Teichman, Spencer's rumored girlfriend who played Dr. Stonebridge in the first Silver Screen. In this album, she's playing herself, the deceased 28-year-old fiancé who's featured dying in each of the music videos stored on these VHS tapes that the police confiscated from the band. Yeah, Welcome to Horrorwood gets a little meta-musical. The post-song cinematic is star-studded, with Bill Moseley returning to collab with the band again, and James A. Janice from Dead Meats. Wait, you're letting horror YouTubers in it now? September 9th would grant us access to the Umbrella Corporation for the next single, Rainy Day, which was inspired by Resident Evil. The video features Spencer's fiancée waking up on a gurney and fighting her way through an office building infested by a horde of zombies, which include Ashley Costello from New Year's Day, who I'll definitely cover in a future episode, as well as New Year's Day guitarist Nikki Misery and guys from several smaller LA-based bands. Once again, Spencer is the one to kill Nadia at the end of the video, which makes the investigators suspicious, but still without evidence. One of the detectives introduced into the mix is played by Chelsea Janice, the creator and host of the Dead Meat podcast. The police captain speaks to Spencer and his lawyer, Ricky Dean Logan from Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, who proposes a theory about who the killer is.
No fan of his would ever do that. But perhaps maybe a disgruntled ex-band member. He's had to fire quite a few.
The only circumstantial evidence they have is that the killer was wearing Spencer's mask, which he explains with the same logic used to let Billy Loomis off the hook in Scream.
They sell that mask at every 5 and dime in the country.
The last single to be released before the album came out went back to the tried and true well of Stephen King horror stories. Funeral Arrangements places Spencer in the shoes of the conflicted mourning father Louis Creed from Pet Sematary, using imagery from both the 1989 original and the 2019 remake as inspiration for shots in the video. The cops managed to connect Nadia's bite marks to Spencer, but his lawyer explains it away as foreplay.
It was the ice pick that did her in. 3 stabs to the chest, 2 in the stomach.
Yeah, but it was the one in the back that killed her.
Which happens to be exactly how Spencer killed Nadia in the Funeral Arrangements tape, leading the captain to believe that he's got some evidence he can work with. A week later, the Silver Scream 2, Welcome to Horrorwood, would be released to critical acclaim. Not that critical acclaim. It went all the way to number 18 on the Billboard 200, beating out its predecessor in terms of popularity. Largely, this was more of the same kind of music that fans grew to love over the last 2 album cycles, with each track taking a hint of musical inspiration from the movie that inspired it. Behind the scenes, the biggest difference with this one was a lot of collaboration with outside songwriters, from the likes of Goldfinger, From First to Last, Atreyu, and Hollywood Undead. The album was so loved that there weren't many non-singles. A Rash Decision was motivated by Eli Roth's Cabin Fever, the same Cabin Fever that once inspired the album artwork of The Burning. The Box is a reference to the Lament configuration from the Hellraiser franchise, and Fly honors The Fly. Eli Roth movies were well represented on this one, because Worst Vacation was influenced by his 2005 movie Hostel. Ex Mortis features lyrics familiar to The Evil Dead and its sequels, Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. And Farewell to Flesh closes the album with the summoning of the Candyman. But once again, the music video narrative carried on past the release of the album, and Spencer Charnas' freedom was about to be decided. In 2022, for the second year in a row, Ice Nine Kills had a serenade ready for Valentine's Day. Well, maybe serenade is not the right word. The song Take Your Pick featured Corpse Grinder, the vocalist of the death metal band Cannibal Corpse, and the music video is an animated tribute to the movie My Bloody Valentine. In fact, this video probably had to be animated in order for it to be allowed on YouTube, because it's the goriest one so far. The animation was done by EIE Animations, a horror animation channel known for their horror icon face-off videos. Take Your Pick does not advance the story of Welcome to Horrorwood. In the meantime, the band embarked on the Trinity of Terror tour with their old friends Motionless in White and Black Veil Bride, which also included performances at the first When We Were Young festival. They also released a new original track called Hunting Season, which was made for the new mobile game PUBG New State.
The collaboration between our band and PUBG was a very organic one. The producers of the game hit us up, and they happened to be Ice Nine Kills fans. They were trying to find a band that could write a song that brought out the intensity of the game. They knew that we were known for taking films and adapting them to music, and they were nice enough to give us a prototype of New State.
It makes you wonder if they would ever do an album focusing on horror games, seeing as how they've now done books and movies. On July 28th, the band released an acoustic version of The Shower Scene, which would be a softer taste of things to come in the Welcome to Horrorwood story. It wasn't until August 9th, exactly 1 year after the release of the first video, that the story would continue. The shower scene puts a twist on Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. In the video, Nadia takes the place of Marion Crane, but during the famous shower scene, she flips the status quo by giving the killer a taste of his own medicine. In this one, Nadia is the one to kill Spencer, not the other way around. The video is then used in court to try to prove that the pattern of Nadia's deaths in each of the videos is not some kind of hint about Spencer's guilt. The previous year, during the live stream where they debuted Can't Help Falling in Love, we saw a promise of collaboration between Spencer and actress Scout Taylor Compton.
We got to get you in one of our videos or one of our movie projects.
That'd be fun.
I think you would kill it. So let's make a blood oath to make sure that you join us next time.
And they followed through, with Scout playing the prosecuting attorney. The judge is also Joe Bob Briggs, host of several well-known horror movie marathons over the years.
Is that all you have, Mrs. Kent?
Believe me, we're just getting warmed up.
Well, I hope so. Because I'm on fire, and your case doesn't hold any water.
I love it. There's definitely a sense of humor in all of these videos to balance out all the horror. And the video ends with the latter. We see the masked killer pour acid into an investigating officer's water supply, causing her skin to sear off in the shower. That August, Inc. continued their expansion into different types of experiences for their fans by hosting the first ever Silver Scream Con back home in Massachusetts, bringing together the types of freaks who go to horror conventions with the types of freaks who go to metal shows. The event featured panels and meetups with prominent entertainers in horror and a special performance by the band. The album also featured something that we haven't seen from Ice Nine Kills since 2014, a song that isn't inspired by any existing IP. After a short prelude called Opening Night, we slice into the record's title track, Welcome to Horrorwood. And on Friday the 13th, that is, Friday, January 13th, 2023, the music video would premiere. Not on Fearless Records or Ice Nine Kills channels, but on Dead Meat, whose character in the story would soon meet his demise at the end of the video.
For a minute, I thought I was dead meat.
From what I can tell, this is the highest budget music video they've done yet, and maybe the highest budget music video I've seen. It features the band turning up to a red carpet movie premiere for a movie version of the Silver Scream Welcome to Horrorwood, which turns into a bloodbath against the press and fans, and a massive firefight against the police. It's packed with Easter eggs and cameos, and after this video is shown in court, the judge refuses to throw out the case, and the police captain gets very cocky that he'll be able to get a conviction. However, a mysterious man in an Ice Nine mask tortures Detective Dunbar, getting him to reveal their key piece of evidence. They know Spencer's stab pattern, which matches what he did in the funeral derangements video. The video ends with a to be continued. Of course, even during the production cycle for new music videos, the band always has stuff going on. In January, they announced a sequel to their graphic novel, Inked in Blood 2, Once Upon a Crime. In February, they were featured on a Bayside song called How to Ruin Everything. The Worst Vacation Tour was a European headline tour that they played in February and March 2023. Unfortunately, guitarist Dan Sugarman had to sit out due to a health issue, and his status going forward is a little unclear. In the summer, they went on the Popular Monster Tour in support of Falling in Reverse, which I attended. You know how during setup before a band goes on, they'll play their pump-up music out loud to the audience? After the first couple openers, while I was waiting for Ice Nine Kills to come on, I captured this. The song is Become What You Hate by Midtown, a pop-punk group who rose in the early 2000s around the time that Spencer was first starting to make music. All these years later, he's still making reference to his pop-punk roots. The rest of the setup period was filled with songs that have been in horror movies. They also opened for Metallica on their M72 World Tour in 2023 and 2024. But you're probably wondering, what about the Silver Scream 2 story? How does it end? And why is my hair longer now? Well, in August 2023, we got the announcement of a second deluxe version of the album called Welcome to Horrorwood Under Fire, and it would notably contain one new song, Meet and Greet. The album was created to be a piece of horror memorabilia, a huge box containing 3D artwork and flashing lights. There would also be orchestral versions of each track. But the rumors started to swirl about what horror property the new song would tackle. And on October 17th, 2023, we would get our answer. The video confirmed the rumors that Meet and Greet would be inspired by Silence of the Lambs, with Spencer playing the villainous antagonist Hannibal Lecter and Nadia playing the FBI agent Clarice Starling. This, of course, is just another video being watched by the police captain Harris. We find out that Spencer's big trial ended in a mistrial because members of the jury were found to be fans who appeared in Ice Nine Kills videos. However, the mysterious man in the Ice Nine Kills mask, who is now being called the Silence Killer, is still at large. However, Harris receives a call from the prosecuting attorney, Kent, suggesting that there is a promising new development. The band then teased the ending of the story, which was locked behind a paywall, but after some complaints from fans, they did the right thing and put up a censored version for free on YouTube. But fair warning, after watching the finale, I don't think there was a story in mind from the very beginning. Seems very much like they may have been making it up as they went. Anyway, Captain Harris is called to a remote warehouse where he finds Spencer seemingly kidnapped. He's attacked by the Silence Killer, who is joined by an entire army of people wearing the same mask. The leader is revealed to be none other than the DA, Kent, who's apparently working with Spencer. He fires several blanks at Captain Harris, demonstrating that this, like all of the so-called evidence in this trial, is just an elaborate special effect like in the movies. It turns out that Nadia isn't even dead, and the body that the police found was just a random Ice Nine Kills fan who sacrificed herself. The whole trial was staged for publicity reasons.
You can't buy the kind of publicity that this trial got as all of us.
It looks like Spencer is gonna carve and eat the captain, but Kent double crosses him as well before tearing the captain in half with a chainsaw, Art the Clown style. And she did it all so she could write herself as the hero in a true crime book that she'd go on to write about the case and eventually sell the rights to a movie. It ends showing that her driver has been killed by someone in a silence mask. So did Spencer somehow survive? Is this Nadia taking her revenge? Or is this just another Ice Nine Kills fan double crossing her? The story ends with a cliffhanger, and I have a feeling we're not ever supposed to learn the answer. I do like how the end credits music is their cover of Can't Help Falling in Love though. It's nice to bring it back around to the video where we first saw the mask and the video where we first saw Spencer interact with Scout Taylor Compton, aka Marcia Kent. So that's the story of Welcome to Horrorwood. It wasn't until 2024 that we got a fresh kill from Ink, but this time it was with the ska-punk band Real Big Fish. Cool to see the band finally returning to their ska roots. The song choice of Walking on Sunshine is yet another tribute to American Psycho, complete with nourishing herb mint face mask, a Cillian Rail bone white business card, and murdering woman with an axe. Charnas is introduced via text on screen as the Psycho, while Real Big Fish's Aaron Barrett is introduced as the Detective. It starts with a clever reference to the MTV logo and the face mask moment seen on an old CRT screen. Then we see remakes of moments from the movie. When Charnas reenacts the murder of the prostitute, we see missing posters from members of Ice Nine Kills that are then discussed by Barrett. Until finally, we see the two chained together walking to the sunset. The sections that remake the movie in this video are animated and contrast with the music to create the same sort of satire as the book and film. A joyful, at-ease song like Walking on Sunshine alongside brutal murder is the same sort of juxtaposition as their previous cover and American Psycho reference, Huey Lewis's Hip to Be Square. While this isn't top-tier Ink material, it was in keeping with their previous output and kept us going until another surprise collaboration in September of 2024.
Is that Roy Merkin?
Did you forget to tell him about the early Christmas present this year?
I'm sorry, what would that be? Oh, you know those revelations. We asked you guys a question earlier. What movie would you like us to cover? Can you guys say that on 3? 1, 2, 3.
The band announced that they would be doing an official song for Terrifier 3, and the fans went nuts. Maybe a little too nuts. The music video was released alongside the movie premiere on October 11th, and the film would go on to be the highest grossing unrated movie of all time. The video starts with a pregnant woman, played by Terrifier 1 actress Katherine Corcoran, and her boyfriend, played by SiriusXM metal DJ Jose Magnin, both heading into an Ice Nine Kills show. Only problem is Art the Clown seems to be headed to the same place. As Corcoran indulges in some ill-advised vices while pregnant, Art shows up. And not just a lookalike or clips from the movie that get edited in, but the real actor David Howard Thornton, who is just in time to see the woman's water break. With the help of some amazingly efficient EMTs that appear out of nowhere, she starts to deliver the baby, but Art has other plans, cutting down EMTs, impaling Magnin through the skull, and leaving nothing to the imagination. Corcoran continues to deliver the baby, but now with Art's help, and the show must be really good because the crowd doesn't seem to notice. Leah Voicey, the Clown Cafe girl from Terrifier 2, sings the bridge as Art gets rid of the baby and then hands out weapons to the crowd. He facilitates a literal wall of death, and as the slaughter kicks off, we're treated to a bass solo from System of a Down's Chavo Adagian, which happens to be my favorite band of all time, so good choice. There's also an unhinged piano section, which I assume is played by Ice Nine Kills guitarist Joe from the Venetia Fair, which I've always seen as a connection to their most famous song, The Ringleader. I'll let you compare. That's off their album The Circus. If it is an intentional nod, referencing The Circus on an Art the Clown themed video is too perfect. Like the Silver Scream saga, the video is filled with Easter eggs, like the Merry Xmas flyers at the entrance of the concert venue. They would keep me here all day if I listed them all out. In a hilariously over-the-top finale, Art gets out a minigun and mows down the whole band. But that's just the music part of the video. We cut to a sunny boardroom where the band, minus Charnas, are showing the video to manager Jimmy Fling, who is concerned about copyright issues with all of their recent videos paying homage to existing horror IP.
The producers of all the major horror franchises are shoving a cease and desist letter up my...
They're all threatened via video chat by Terrifier's director, Damien Leone, and producer Phil Falcone. Then, the small matter of Charnas being in a coma comes up, tying the plot into the previous videos. Fling suggests that the band doesn't need Charnas thanks to AI, and all he needs is his unconscious signature. The final scene takes place in the hospital, where he finds Charnas in less of a coma than he thought, ending on another to be continued. This AI Spencer storyline would be followed up in their next video, but that didn't come around for another 9 months. In the meantime, they released a real cosmetics line promoted by a short film about a killer putting makeup on his or her victims. Then in April 2025, they announced a real horror film called The Slashing of the Christ, which Spencer has a screenplay credit on. In May, they intentionally drummed up some publicity by using terrible AI artwork to promote a merch drop. The media fell for it and reported on Ice Nine Kills getting themselves into hot water over AI usage. That's when the band played their trump card, releasing a mock American Case File episode that made it clear that this controversy was all part of their next Silver Scream storyline.
Tonight on American Case File, scandal, horror, a brutal beating, a comatose rock singer, and now a conspiracy theory that perhaps, just perhaps, in a sinister twist scarier than Skynet, controversial Ice Nine Kills frontman Spencer Charnas has been replaced.
It discussed the rumors that Spencer had been replaced by an AI and teased their next music video drop.
The project, heavily rumored to be titled The Great Unknown, is tied to a cryptic social post reading simply 7/9/25.
And when that date arrived, the next chapter of the Horrorwood saga was released out into cyberspace, this time tackling the sci-fi film The Matrix. The video features the band playing the iconic subway scene from the movie, with Spencer evading agents with incredible stunts performed in The Matrix, aka the simulated virtual reality after which the movie is named. The post-music video wrap-up scene this time pushes the story forward further. Spencer has indeed been replaced by an AI avatar in the music video, and the manager, Jimmy Fling, is wrapped up in braces and bandages. He's signing off on Ice Nine Kills branded product deals left and right in the frontman's absence and pushing the band's sound away from horror to a poppier sound. Spencer and his attending physician are both missing, and at the end, someone replaces the guitarist's pill bottle with a literal red pill, causing him to choke as his body rejects the pill and he's attacked by a mysterious figure with the familiar IX facial markings, similar to that of the Silence Killer. And I have to stop there so I can release this video, otherwise I'm gonna keep delaying it forever. So this is my cutoff point. If anything else happens in between the Great Unknown and my video releasing, I'll have to cover it in a future update video. Ice Nine Kills has truly reached the status of being both a band and a brand unlike any group I've seen before. After doing their own haunted house, horror convention, cinematic music videos, video game, and so much more that I've discussed throughout the video, the little ska-punk band from Boston has come a long way to Hollywood stardom. And maybe the only thing they've yet to do is actually create a real horror movie that plays in theaters. As for the Silver Scream, it's obviously tied closely with their recent success. So the question is, could it become a trilogy? Spencer took an interview with Rock Sound at When We Were Young, where we got a little insight about what comes next.
Still too early to tell, but we are working on forming some new material. We'll see what comes of it.
We'll see what comes. I know you teased, Silence of the Lambs would obviously be a dream one. I don't need you to tease too many more because I know you won't want to yet, but how many are in place? Can you tell me that? How many films have you already decided, yeah, these are the things?
Oh man, I've got a list in my pocket, at least of 30 films that still need to have the old ink treatment.
Whatever the future holds, I'll be keeping you up to date on Ice Nine Kills and all of my favorite bands. So stay plugged in by subscribing to Pumpkin Metal for more than just punk and metal, let the bell toll for notifications, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, mic drop.